Hey, and welcome to today's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where we're going to take a look at the Wednesday's puzzle. Now, I think this might be a puzzle that I've solved before in the Times Crossword Championship about a month ago. People who know me will tell you this basically gives me no advantage at all when I come to solve it now, because my memory is like a sieve. I believe that's because I've basically trained it to be porous, because I, repeatedly do new puzzles, and so it has to drain of information very quickly. Other people say it's just I have a terrible memory. But in any case, let's have a look, and we'll talk through some of the clues, some of which I may remember. Yeah, so there we go. It was one I've done before. So, people left child generous little gift. Yeah, as I suspected, I have no clue what that's talking about. So let's put one down. Amazed wife married without love. Amazed wife without love. Okay, yeah, I have got that. So that is W for wife, O for love, and then wed for married. And wowed is amazed. So let's go back and have a look at this one. Okay, now, so this one, and I'd encourage you to pause the video and I give explanations here just to give yourself a chance to think it through if you haven't got it immediately. It's a very clever clue. The answer means a generous little gift. So that is the definition. And then you need to think very laterally about what people left might be. That's going to give you the first word of the answer. And then child is the second word of the answer. So pause the video, as I say. I'm going to type the answer now. A widow's mite. So 10 across. Pardon felon finally, turning to stand. Pardon. Okay, yeah. So this is a very difficult clue. And the definition is stand here. And then we need to read the rest of it very carefully. So what we're looking for is a word that's for pardon. And then felon finally is obviously, that's the N of felon, that's the last letter of N of felon. And then we need to turn the two around. So you can hopefully now, you've got 4 letters of the answer if we include the W. So have a think about it. Pause it again. I'm going to type it. What not? What's the answer? Which is a type of stand. Right. Inspector polishes up English speech. Speech. Okay. I don't know the answer to this one, but the way I'm thinking it will work is I think it will be a word for speech. Inspector, I think, it's likely to be DI for detective inspector, and then a word for polishes up, and then probably an E at the end. So I'm pretty confident it'll be of that form. So you may be able to get it before I can. So let's go back to this one. Imaginary people in book, loads used in new edition. Okay, so this, quite surprisingly, is a straightforward anagram clue, but it's very hard to spot because there's so much crossword ease in the clue that's misleading you. So the anagram fodder here is loads used. So the answer is an anagram of loads used, and what's telling you it's an anagram are the words in new edition. So the setter feels he has the license to, play around with anagram indicators based off the first part of the clue, which is imaginary people in book. So he's tried to use this reference to a new edition, to improve the surface of the clue while still retaining the indication that you need to anagram the letters of those used. So have a think about that. It means imaginary people in book. I'm going to type it now. Dead souls. So now this could be, I've now got this one. So yeah, and it was exactly as I suggested. So pause again if you haven't got it yet. but you need to put a word, 6-letter word in here that polishes up, beginning with S. Scours, discourse. So we can see this, it's a 6-letter followed by an 8-letter answer. And this first word, I mean, it looks like we know this without even looking at the clue. So let's have a look. Light morning activity, creating favourable impression. Okay, yeah. So a light is a 6-letter word, and we've got most of it here. And then we need a morning activity, an 8-letter word, and the whole thing will mean favourable impression. Pause if you need to. The answer is window dressing. 4 down. Heard legends about one god or another. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. So this is the name of a god, and what we need to do is to think of a word that means legends, and it's a homophone of that, and we're going to put that around the name of another god. So that's how the wordplay is working here. It's a homophone of the word for legends about one god, so you need to put that about the name of a god, and then the whole thing will be the name of another god. So have a think about it. The answer is Mithras. So myths there, a homophone of M-Y-T-H-S, which is a word for legends, around Ra, who was, I think, an Egyptian sun god. 5 down. May child perhaps cross, near disastrous. May child perhaps cross. Disastrous. Ah, okay, yeah, lovely clue. So here, we need to think of, the definition here is May child, perhaps. So we need to think of a characteristic, an adjective that was going to describe any child born in May. That might require a bit of lateral thinking. And then we need a 3-letter word for a cross, followed by an anagram of near. So disastrous there is telling us to anagram the word near. Again, pause. The answer is Taurian. So it can be born under the sign of Taurus, with a Taur being a cross, T-A-U there. Let's try this one. We've not got any letters. Vestment returned by bishop let out. Okay, this isn't too difficult. So there is a 3-letter word for a vestment that you tend to see from time to time. Sometimes it's included as priest's robe or something like that. And then we're going to put that next to a B for bishop, and the whole thing will mean let out. Answer is blab. 7 down. Compare what 1 kilogram bags brought over. Compare. Oh, I see. Okay. So this, as I think Mark's referred to recently, and we've talked about it before many times, is every times crossword will tend to contain a hidden answer, but only one, i.e. an answer where the actual answer is hidden within a consecutive sequence of letters in the clue. Here, this is indeed the case, but it's a reversed hidden, and the answer means compare. So have a think, and there you can see within 1 kilogram, if you reverse it, the word lichen. Okay, extras include current bit of breakfast and child's cot. Extras include current bit of breakfast and child's cot. No, I don't know what that is. Voluntary, exposed, no end of bosom. Okay, yeah. So this is another nice clue. We need to think of an 8-letter word here that means exposed. And then we need to remove from that the last letter of bosom, i.e. the M. Now, and the whole thing will mean voluntarily. So I mean, from the start of the clue, it's very likely that's going to be what's required, and from the tense of the clue, we can probably fill in that as well. And it's a word for exposed. Oh, it's not letting me put the D, but there we go. So try and figure out what these two letters might be. I'm going to type them in now. Unasked. Let's go back to this. Extras, including current bit of breakfast and child's cot. I don't know why I can't get that, but I can't. Sweet tin, disappointingly empty. Okay, so this is doable. We just need to focus really to get this clue from this point. I'll tell you what I did, and I just looked at the last two words. So disappointingly empty struck me as a cryptic reference to the fact I needed to empty out all of the middle letters of the word disappointingly, which would give me a DY. So let's try that. So now you need a three-letter word for a tin, and the whole thing will mean sweet, and that's that now become straightforward. Let's put 9 down. See what I can do. Room for more later. Room for more later. Watch. See what I can do. Watch this space, perhaps. Yes, that is the answer. Nice clue. Sorry, I sort of gave it away rather than giving you a chance to get it. But the way it works is, if you were to say to somebody, you know, look what I can do, you would go, watch this, as a sort of exclamation. That's followed by the word space, which means room, and the whole thing means for more later, or more later, what's to come, watch this space. Let's look at this one. Criminal cut and run, say, for refuge. Okay, well, we're very lucky here because we've got so many good letters. So, and here we've got a nice anagram. So try and work out what the 9 letters are that we need to anagram here, given what we have in the grid. That is a good practice. Means refuge. I'm going to put the answer in now. Sanctuary. So you can see there that we need to anagram cut, ran, and say. Oh. What's this then? It's to be beady-eyed. Biddy buys. Gosh, I have no memory of that being the answer to that. So what's this? Extras are buys in cricket, including current bit of breakfast. A current is an eddy, and then a bit of breakfast is the letter B, and the child's cot is Betty buys. That is a very good clue. I really like that. And somewhat perturbed that I don't have any memory of it. Okay, so let's look at this one. Okay, this is also doable. Fancy his metal changed, lead only. Although obviously that word lead there could be read as lead only, and that's how I would encourage you to read it. This is an and-lit, i.e. the whole clue can be read as the definition to the answer, and the whole clue can be read as the wordplay to the answer. And in doing that, what you need to do is think in anagram terms. So again, the challenge here is to come up with the 9 letters that we need to anagram. And I'm going to tell you what you need to anagram here are the words his metal and the C from changed, i.e. the lead only. And if you do that, you can come up with alchemist. An alchemist obviously changed lead into gold. So, as a precaution, not taking all native people. Okay, so, I mean, this is a native people. You need to come up with a phrase that means as a precaution, and we're going to shorten it very, very slightly. So the answer there is in case without its last letter, for Incas. 14 across, small amount of money that's found in the sea. Ah, okay. So one of the things that I often forget when I solve these puzzles is that small can be abbreviated to S. I don't know why I forget it, but I do. But let's try that here. So small is an S, amount of money, 4 letters, and the whole thing will be something found in the sea. Again, pause if you need to, but the answer's squid. 2 features of old record are misleading. 2 features of old record. Virgin, for one. Seized by less intelligent dealer. Okay, well, this clue I do remember because I think I mentioned this in our review of the championship. This is a difficult clue, and I've never seen this use of Virgin here, but they are referring to Virgin as an internet service provider. So given that, we can say that this is what's required. We need to put a word for less intelligent around the outside of the ISP there, and we'll come up with a word for a dealer. So pause again. The answer is dispenser. Denser around the outside. So let's go for this again. 2 features of old letter. Okay, the side, that would be a feature of an old record. Are misleading. Side. Oh, I see, it's a track, side track. Something that's misleading is a side track. And then bugle call here. Bugle call outside a sort of bar. So again, this requires a tight reading. And we should always be looking for instructional words in the middle of the clue. So bugle call outside a. We need to read that as being a word for a bugle call. We're going to put an A inside that word, and we'll get a kind of a bar. A bar you might eat at. Have a think if you need to. The answer's tapas, with taps being the bugle call there. Guide 1 through area of ground. Okay, so this is probably the easiest clue of the puzzle. I mean, maybe it's easy because we've got the P, but I don't think there's any way of reading this other than as a 4-letter word for an area of ground around either a 1 or an A, or either an I or an A, representing the 1 here. The whole thing will mean guide. Again, use pause. Pilot is the answer. So this looks like kite. Yes, hawk that is blown by the wind. Well, that is kite. It's double definition. Penalty is roughly, where you should all immediately with these letters in the grid be thinking this is an anagram of penalty, and indeed it is. And if something is in numbers, i.e. there's a lot of it, the answer is a plenty. I remembered this clue as well. Keep remarking about pear coming out in mist. Actually no, it was a different clue I was thinking of. I think I was remembering a clue that was something like sweat out or something. But this one is, all you need to know for this one is that pear can be abbreviated to PR. So you need an expression for it to keep remarking. We're going to put a PR inside. You can see the only place we can put that is here. So the answer is spray on. I.e. to say on is to keep remarking. It's worse, if anything, they say, to be wiser. No, it's worse, if anything. No better. No better. Yeah, that's the answer. So if we were to read this no here as NO rather than KNOW, it would certainly be worse, if anything. If something is no better, it's either as good or worse than it. So again, a homophone, but quite an elegant one. Okay, so we've got some very interesting letters for 19 down. Starts to become exhausted and lose time. Oh, this is the clue that I remember. So for those of you that haven't watched the earlier video, this is a very, very clever clue. And it means starts to become exhausted. But of course, when you're reading this, especially if you don't have any letters in the grid, you would read starts to become exhausted as indicating the letters B for the start of the word become, and E for the start of the word exhausted. And indeed, I remember doing that in the championship and spending far too many seconds thinking along those lines. But no, actually, the whole thing does mean starts to become exhausted. And if we move the space, so we can see this as a 4-3. If we were to actually make this a 3-4 answer, then the words we've just come up with, which means starts to become exhausted, would in fact mean lose time. So have a think. Do spend a few moments thinking about that. I think it's a very elegant clue. And the answer is runs low. And you can see if you were to shift the space up, you would get run slow, which means lose time. And for some reason, I think that's a really beautiful clue. So 23, around noon, a sun late rising again. Okay, so again, this is a very doable clue. And there's actually an anagram indicator here, which is the word around, which is well, actually, I'm wondering if that is the way they set them in this clue. There's a couple of ways of reading it. I mean, it means rising again. That is with this word, and it's an anagram. No, in fact, I've totally misread this clue. It does mean rising again, but not in the way I meant at all. And it's not really an anagram. We need to put around the outside of N for noon, A for A, and S for sun, a 6-letter word which means late. And if we do that, we will come up with a word which means rising again. The answer is renaissant. Renaissant. So recent is what's going around the edge there. So 2 more. Energetic person, say, caught by slowing up. Oh, okay, I think, well, this is a word that means an energetic person. And then say, well, that has a very common 2-letter abbreviation, and we need it here. And that's going to be caught, i.e. that EG is going to be swallowed by a word which means slowing, and then the whole thing will be reversed. And in fact, the word that means slowing is an abbreviation for slowing, a musical abbreviation. So have a think about that. Not that easy. And that says tiger, so writ there is being used. I can't remember, Richmando or something. I'll check at the end. But so finally, principal begging head to leave. Okay, so a nice easy one to finish with, especially with all the letters. So it means principal, and then it's an 8-letter word which means begging, where we'll get rid of the first letter. And the answer is, of course, leading. And that's the championship puzzle from today, solved. I hope this was interesting. It's more of a video I've tried to do to sort of help the relatively newer solvers through some of the complicated clues. I think Mark's going to do tomorrow's video on the crossword, and we'll see you again then. Thanks for watching.